Hey all, here OS Reviews. In this video, we're taking a quick look at a pretty unique gadget called the To-All L Ring 2. And this is a smart ring, but unlike all of the other models that we've seen previously, such as the Ringcon Ultra Human, as well as Samsung Galaxy Ring and the Aura Smart Ring, those are all smart activity trackers, similar to taking features from a smartwatch and just shrinking it into a ring form factor. Instead, this one does not track your biometrics or health in any way. Instead, it's more like an office tool assistant, where it has built-in microphones and keys that you can press on to translate as well as answer questions from ChatGPT, in addition to having a built-in accelerometer or gravity sensor that can detect as you are waving your hand around, and then use a air mouse as you're giving presentations. So again, taking the smart wearable form factor, but putting a different spin or angle on it. Like some of the other fitness tracker smart rings though, it does have a battery case that can retop the ring's battery up if you pop it in for a few extra times. And what's kind of clever here is it's a one-size-fit-all design compared to many other smart rings that require a precise fitting kit for sizing such as 8, 9, 10, 11, like shoes. But on here, it is one size because they include a couple of silicone sleeves that you can snap in to make it tighter or looser depending on your finger size. And again, it's compatible with systems including Android as well as with Windows, with support for iOS and Mac that is currently pending. So there's a mobile app component that takes care of some of the AI related tasks, so you're able to again transcribe any meetings or notes that you have into a written format, translate between different languages using a slightly smaller device. You can be standing further away from the actual phone or tablet, so kind of a two-in-one product using gesture control as an air mouse, plus some of the transcription and AI features via the buttons and built-in microphones of the charging dock. The ring itself also has a touch sensor on the side that you can act as mouse click keys for left and right click, so you can still interact with the UI from further away. And if you're connecting a head-mounted display onto your computer, you can also use this as a slightly more intuitive or comfortable way for navigating around compared to a more traditional mouse, with some additional note-taking features in the mobile app that can be an alternative to something like the Plod Note, which similarly allows you to generate summaries as well as mind maps after you've recorded a meeting to more precisely give you an outline of the main points. So although the feature here isn't something that we haven't seen before, it is integrating it into a slightly more compact form factor. What I will say though is if you have a flagship smartphone from Google or Apple, so some of the latest Pixels as well as iPhones sometimes do already come with a pretty solid voice recorder app with transcription capabilities, but I guess this just takes it maybe one step further by also adding in some of the summary functionality, and also you can now add this feature to other smartphones, mid-range or budget phones that might not have that same built-in app support. So anyways, this is also a quick look at the, again, built-in accelerometer in the actual ring or mouse itself that supports up to 16 different gestures. And if you're using it as just a mouse, it is a universal device, so it doesn't require you to install any additional app. It's only if you want to use the transcription as well as AI features that it requires the mobile app, as well as the dimensions of the charging case, pretty lightweight at only 33 grams, rated to last for around 10 hours of continuous use. But because you are mainly doing things like recording meetings or acting as an air mouse, I think that's mostly sufficient here, and it connects with both Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to your mobile device. The ring, by the way, is also IP67, so if you are slightly sweaty or splash some rain on it, it should still survive. Also looks like they have a optional add-on accessory, more like a toy, which they're calling the L-Ring UFO, that you can control using the smart ring to move the direction of the drone from left, right, up, and down, which is also pretty cool as an additional accessory. And although this company is one that I haven't really heard of in the past, it seems like they have launched in other markets already, including in China, for a couple of years, which is why this is their second generation smart ring. But for the US and Europe, it looks like they are first launching through Kickstarter, though their campaign has already been funded, it looks like. So a closer look at the packaging here, it's quite simple. Inside we have just the actual charging case with the smart ring that we'll take a closer look at in a moment. Inside of the bottom compartment are inclusive of the aforementioned additional silicone adapters, making the fit a little bit more snug for smaller fingers, as well as USB Type-C for charging the battery case, and also a quick user guide. Here's a closer look at the ring and the silicone sleeves, which I do think is a pretty clever design, since the outer ring itself can be more of a one-size-fit-all, and then the silicone here just snaps in with a little bit of a slot here, so it stays in place quite nicely, and it still makes it pretty comfortable overall, as you can tell, without really moving around. again, compared to other smart rings where the actual ring itself is manufactured in different sizes. And otherwise, the ring itself is crafted out of polycarbonate plastic, similar to the charging case, kind of like a pair of wireless buds, but at the very least, it's quite lightweight, and there's just simple charging contacts at the very bottom that you can pop into here for quick charging. And you'll also see a status LED charging light there in the case, as well as located on the side of the ring as well. Kind of resembles an egg in terms of shape, very similar to a pair of wireless buds, and it is still quite small. We've got dual microphones that you can use when asking ChatGPT questions, as well as recording a voice memo or note, in addition to accessing the translator function. There's also a power switch, or really a lock switch on the side. You can flick it up if you want to turn it off. And on the very back, you also find some additional controls. So you can also use it as a remote when giving presentations for things like moving up and down through other slides, as well as left and right click can also be found on the case as well, using these touch-sensitive divots that you can click on, and also Type-C at the very bottom there for charging. Otherwise, the ring itself, again, has its own LED light that you can check on to see if it's turned on, properly connected, and also when you're wearing it, you have two touch sensors of its own for left and also right click, so you can still interact just by wearing the ring as the virtual mouse. What is worth mentioning though is the ring itself does not have a built-in microphone. It's only found on the battery case. So if you are using it in the kind of voice memo translator as well as the ChatGPT modes, you do have to still use the buttons on the case to trigger those commands. This is just for using the gestures. Taking a quick look at the mobile app first for some of those AI features. And so this is divided by the same functions that we kind of saw in the case, including one here for the voice memos. The next one here is for that kind of AI ChatGPT function, versus the third one is for the translation mode. So if we click on any of these keys, they will trigger their corresponding functions. Let's begin with the audio memo. Here is the audio memo demonstration. I've clicked on the button here once. I'm now talking to the case. I can also move a little bit further away here and tap again to stop the recording. So there we have it. You can also select the language that you were currently speaking for slightly more accurate transcription, and it will recognize not only English, but also Chinese, French, Japanese, and Korean at the moment. Let's tap on English. There we are. It's going to take a couple of seconds to then have the machine learning kind of transcribe it into text. You can listen back to the recording. Demonstration. I've clicked on the button here once. I'm now talking to the case. I can also move a little bit further away here. So there we have it. Overall, the quality of the microphone seemed to be actually quite solid, relatively clear. So if you're in a meeting setting, it should also cancel out some of the background chatter, for instance. And after a split second, it's also generated transcription. Accuracy is really not bad, giving you some punctuation there as well. I can also click on summary, and this will be generated using some of the ChatGPT API behind the scenes. It's created an automatic title based on the contents there, as well as a summary in a more condensed format. Key points there being you can click once to begin a memo, click again to stop, as well as, again, moving further away when speaking. So actually not bad in terms of accuracy. Here's also a mind map format instead. So we have some of those features that we just highlighted. So a tool like this can actually be quite handy, again, powered by ChatGPT behind the scenes, if you are a student or, again, if you're in a meeting professional setting. So this is why I guess this particular wearable is more designed for work use as opposed to, again, tracking your health or biometrics, a completely different direction. You can also click on the button down below here, by the way, to export the mind map or summary. And if we tap on the edit button, looks like we can also upload it onto cloud backup, as well as rename the file type and also label it differently, such as meeting versus an interview report. Those are the two tags we have for now. Maybe they can add a few more examples of different types of recordings in the future for you to better organize and sort, but this provides a rough idea. Overall, connectivity doesn't seem to be that problematic either. As long as you're within around a 10 meter or 33 feet range of one another, it still seems to be registering without too many issues. Here's one more example that we tried out earlier. So now the next function is going to be just the middle AI key, again asking questions to answer from ChatGPT. Let's do one example here. Tell me a little bit more about you. And afterwards, it's recognized what I spoke. Tell me a little bit more about you, and it now replied back. Create a table showing some of the differences between the key specs of the past 3 iPhone generations. And there we have it, the generation there is in progress. I guess one slight con though is it doesn't seem to actually speak out the replies back to you, unlike say the latest generation of Google's Gemini, as well as some of the newer models that also have a voice attached onto the generative AI. So in this particular instance, you still have to read back the actual output, but overall not bad and still pretty fast from a performance point of view. It can also create kind of poems as well as new ideas, outlines, and that includes teaching you how to code as well as other tutorials, in addition to asking general trivia questions, creating templates for emails, so on and so forth. You get the idea. Not bad. One limitation of this current app, though, is it's only designed for text-based output, so you can't really have generative artwork as an output at the moment, it seems. So I tried talking to it and saying to generate an image of falling snow, but it just tells us some instructions and tutorial steps instead. So the emphasis is still on chat-based responses. The final function here will be the translation. Let's give it a try. Here is the translation mode, giving it a test, 1, 2, 3. And there we have it. After just a couple of seconds, you can see the line pop up, as well as the translation into a second language, such as Chinese. Speed is also not bad, maybe some small errors in punctuation, but also still mostly understandable in my testing, as well as you can change the language over here as well, going from English to Chinese versus to Japanese, Korean, French, a few other options here. So not the most exhaustive list of supported languages compared to some of the dedicated AI translators out there, but hopefully the number here will continue to grow. I guess also one feature that would be nice to have maybe in a subsequent revision would be some form of offline translation. Right now you do have to open up the app here as well as have internet on your device, whether Wi-Fi or cellular, for it to translate. So behind the scenes, it's probably still connecting to, again, an API such as Google Translate or something powered by Bing, but you're mainly getting the convenience of a more wireless remote as well as a button that you can maybe give to someone and then they can talk back a little bit more freely, picking up their voice without handing over the entire phone. But there is also a conversation mode that really won't stop line per line. Instead, you can have a free-flowing conversation between two people, and you can see on the phone screen here, it will be showing your preferred language here, and the other person, if they are talking in Chinese, for instance, can see it translated here in real time as well. So overall, the translation is working decently. If I'm slightly pausing, you can tell that the punctuation will also appear mostly in the correct places, giving it just a split second. So not a bad functionality, I guess, as an extra, giving it this translation mode. Some additional settings here include saving the results as a copy for you to reference later, as well as whether you wanted to automatically read back the translations in the other language or not, you can turn on or off. The final tab just tells you if there's any firmware updates, as well as when you first create an account, you also, looks like, get 2 gigabytes of cloud storage space compared to storing everything onto your phone's storage for some of the audio memos, for instance. It's up to you, and also what current AI model they're using is also displayed. And now to jump into a demo of the actual Ring's kind of gesture support part, what you're supposed to do is click on the translation button for about 3 seconds until it starts to blink, and then it's going to enter the regular Bluetooth pairing mode where you can use it as a mouse just by going into Bluetooth settings on your device. So again, for the Air Mouse part, you don't have to download any separate app. It's a universal device. Just open up your computer settings. That can be a Chromebook here as well, Android, Windows, Mac OS, and then just connect to the Bluetooth device called the Tual L-Ring 2, and then you'll be good to go. And the motion sensors here seem to be working all right, almost giving you some of those superpowers just by moving your hand around to control the cursor, or again, that optional drone accessory. And whenever you click on a key, there's also an indication light that flashes once as confirmation that you have clicked on it successfully. And in similar fashion, also using it as a presentation remote, so we can click to go on to the next page. As you can tell there, also working well enough, as well as trigger some of the remote click commands. So it can be helpful if you're trying to give a presentation as a student or in a business purpose. And as a remote, if there are media tracks embedded into your presentation, you can obviously click OK to also play and pause the music, or if you're watching a YouTube video as well. So not bad for giving you some of those quick commands. Ending this on a quick size comparison with some of the aforementioned fitness-based smart rings like this one from Ringcon, you can tell that, again, the L ring is still going to be a little chunkier to accommodate the motion tracking as well as the larger battery, plus this universal type design. Because it is built out of plastic instead of, say, metal alloy, it still weighs about the same overall. It's not uncomfortable to wear, and you're still able to access these controls without too many issues for the most part. That being said, again, this one doesn't really have any other smart fitness tracking capabilities as part of its intent. Nonetheless, I still think it's a pretty neat accessory as long as you understand that it is a bit different versus most of the other smart rings on the market. Again, this is more as a tool designed for students as well as working professionals in kind of an office setting, I would say. You can check out more details if you're interested in the links down below, kind of an air mouse presentation remote coupled with some translation as well as meeting note functionality using the mobile app that has been the to all gesture control based L Ring 2 smart ring.